Accountability is the glue that ties commitment to the result. Bob Proctor said that once. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the Moving Forward Leadership Podcast. I'm your host and founder, Scott McCarthy, and welcome to episode number 12, How to Instill Accountability into an Organization. Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome back to the Moving Forward Leadership Podcast. As I said earlier, I'm your host and founder, Scott McCarthy. Definitely would like to welcome everybody back who's listening for their multiple time. And if you're a new listener, welcome to you as well. You've come across a leadership podcast designed to help your organization and yourself through active leadership. Today we're going to talk about accountability. And the reason why I'm going to talk about accountability is because you need to ensure accountability so that your people are doing what they're supposed to be doing, and also that they can learn from their mistakes, which is probably the most important thing. Okay? So I'm going to kick off today's podcast with a little story of two people I had work for me back in the day. Quite a while ago now, actually, now that I think about it. So two members of the Canadian Forces that were under my command at one point. Both of these gentlemen were found guilty of a Code of Service Discipline charge. I won't get into the details of what that charge was, but they did the exact same thing, roughly the exact same time, ironically, actually. And both of these guys stood in front of our commanding officer during their summary trial. The first member went in to the trial and basically didn't take ownership of his mistakes or his faults. Denied it, pleaded not guilty, denied everything, completely tried to pawn off his mistakes onto other people, so on and so forth. Except absolutely no responsibility for his actions. The second member, went into his trial, with the complete opposite approach. Completely accepted full accountability, full responsibility for his actions, explain why he did what he did, why he knew it was now wrong, and as well, why he understood why he was being charged for it. And then most importantly, how he was learning from his actions. Well, both of those members got the exact same sentence of 2 weeks in military prison in Edmonton Garrison. Upon release from the prison, though, this is where the difference between the two members takes hold. So, due to the circumstance of the charges and other issues prior to, their files had to get reviewed by National Defense Headquarters in Ottawa. So, the first member, we did nothing for. We allowed the system to go ahead and basically let the system go through its process, and eventually he was released from Canadian Armed Forces dishonorably. The second member, though, the second guy who went ahead and took full accountability and responsibility for his actions, we actually tried to salvage. We gave him high-profile taskings, we put him on a number of courses, we put him in some leadership roles, so on and so forth, so that it showed Ottawa, National Defense Headquarters, that the chain of command that was serving this member did actually respect this member and believe that he was salvageable. So that's the difference. Now, fortunately, he was actually released from the Canadian Forces as well. So in the end, it was no difference. But the difference was, though, that we as the leadership saw some potential in this member who took accountability for his actions. So the moral of the story is, admit your own mistakes, and people will help you. And I say that to my people all the time. I am fine with people who make mistakes from time to time, because we all make mistakes from time to time. We are all human. That's just the nature of the business. However, if you try to hide the mistakes, you try to cover up the mistakes, then we come into problems. However, if you go ahead and admit to them fully, straight up front, generally that causes less damage. And therefore, we can go ahead and mitigate what damage it could be. And then allow it to turn it into a learning opportunity for the member. So you're saying to yourself probably, okay, Scott, that's great, But, I'm the leader. I'm not the one that's actually making mistakes. It's my guys. So, what can you do to help me? I got you covered. So, when we're talking about accountability and you're the leader of an organization, the first step you need to do is basically set your expectations with your people. You need to let them know what you expect from them before you start holding them accountable, okay? There's a couple different ways to do it. I actually recommend doing it multiple ways. The first and easiest way, obviously, is verbally. Briefing your people, telling your people exactly what it is you want to hold, that you expect from them in the course of a day or a year, and so on and so forth. What are the different types of results you expect? How you expect them to conduct themselves, both professionally, maybe even outside of work, if it is that type of organization, so on and so forth. The second way you can do it as well, which I actually recommend doing both, honestly, is writing it down and actually handing it out to your people. So that way, if your people need to refer to it, they can easily go ahead, bring up that sheet, and have a look at it. And this is something which is very common in armed forces, actually. Even at my work today, I could easily look at my commander's expectation sheet, which is hung at my desk on the bulletin board I have there. So whenever I feel like it, I can easily have a quick look at what he expects from me. As well, I do the same with my people. So I send out a letter of expectations to them all, explaining to them what I expect, how I expect them to conduct themselves, and why, and so on and so forth. Which makes everybody's lives very easy. So that's basically step one. Important thing to remember, though, is that when you're dealing with accountability, if you're coming to an organization where accountability hasn't necessarily been enforced in the past, you need to forget the past. A lot of people are going to come to you and say, hey, this person forever hasn't been showing up on time, or has been doing their job properly, or has been doing misconduct, or blatantly insubordinate, so on and so forth. You basically have to forget the past. You can't hold them accountable for actions in the past when they haven't actually been informed that they've been doing something wrong. Because as simple as it may seem and it may sound, okay, and how honestly stupid this may sound, they might not even know they're doing something wrong. So you actually can't hold them accountable for something they didn't realize that they were actually doing wrong in the first place. I know it may seem wrong and may sound stupid and so on and so forth, but in the end of the day, you need to hold the moral high ground. So you need to basically start from square one and ensure that you take the appropriate process and appropriate steps, okay, along the way. So the next step is, so you've set your expectation, you've completely forgotten about the past. The next step along the lines is, once you have someone that does something wrong, for example, they show up late, or they don't meet, or they conduct themselves in a negative manner, you have to immediately inform that person. I'm not saying necessarily right there and then, however, within that day, or within a appropriate time frame of you being informed that that person has conducted themselves in a way that needs to be held accountable for, then you need to take actions to inform that person. You should probably do this behind closed doors, I would suggest. Okay, do it quietly. Holding someone accountable is not necessarily something for public interest, all right? That you're just going to lower that person's morale, and then you will cause issues within your organization, because people don't need to see other people being held accountable. As well, I would actually, if there are processes in place within your organization, I would definitely recommend using them, especially if there's some kind of formal process where it goes on paper, it goes on a person's file, so on and so forth, because these things need to be tracked. Continually giving people chances and will just basically reinforce the negative habits. You need to ensure that they know right away that they are actually conducting themselves in a negative manner. So once you've gone ahead and you've informed them of their negative, their misconduct, so on and so forth, you need to follow up with them later down the line, okay? You need to see how it's going, keep an eye on them, let them know, hey, good job, I haven't seen you doing what you shouldn't be doing, Okay, you've been doing things which you should be doing, so on and so forth, as days go on. As well, you can keep this written down formally. It can be informal as well, right? I generally will do a bit of both, depending on the circumstances. If it's someone's first time doing something wrong, I will generally try to keep it informal as much as possible. However, once we definitely go into that formal route, then everything stays formal. Kind of don't switch back and forth, and nor would I recommend it to anybody, okay? When you're in the informal realm, stay in the informal realm, and then once you go to the formal realm, move everything over to the informal realm. So that includes, briefing, counseling, so on and so forth, okay? On their issues and deficiencies. What happens, so you've gone ahead, you've corrected someone, you're into the formal route now, and they go ahead and they show the same deficiency again. They do the exact same again. Let's say someone just can't show up on work on time. Go ahead, you've informally talked to them. They didn't show up work on time again, so you went to the formal route, and again, they haven't showed up at work on time. So what can you do? So basically, you did what you should be doing, which is increasing the level of accountability on your end to that person, i.e., basically ramping up, increasing the amount of pressure on them to show them that it is taking seriously, okay? And then what they're doing is serious as well. So you need to continually do that. As each time someone does something wrong, you need to increase that level of accountability on them. So you've gone ahead and you've held someone accountable for a deficiency a number of times. There's sometimes when people are being held accountable for a deficiency, and it's not necessarily their conduct, maybe it's their performance, right? Especially in the sales realm, you see this a lot in that people aren't meeting their expectations, not meeting their sales quotas, targets, etc., etc. So they're being held accountable because they're basically not doing their end of the bargain. What are some different things you could do for that person? All right. So a couple different recourses for an individual in that nature. I don't mean, and I'm talking outside of conduct, okay? I would never do this with someone with conduct issues, i.e. showing up to work late or insubordinate. I'd skip to the next step, which we'll talk about in a second. However, with someone with performance issues, you should look at a new course. Could they be in a different role? Maybe the role that they're currently in, so let's say they're in sales, maybe sales just isn't their thing. Maybe their performance issues is because sales isn't their thing. Maybe they're better off in marketing, okay? Or maybe they need less responsibilities. Perhaps you're expecting too much from them right now. Okay, there could be some things going on at home, could be some things in their personal life which is affecting their performance. So you're holding them accountable, but things aren't changing. Maybe a few less responsibilities will do the job. And then finally, maybe you can just shift them right completely to a new department. Maybe things aren't gelling with the current team within the current department. And it kind of goes back to the whole new role as well, right? So if you move this person out into a new department, into a different role, they could be in the same role in a different department, or they could be in a different department with a new role, whatever. Doesn't matter. Either way, they got a new change of scenery. Maybe that will actually fix whatever problem is the underlying issue, okay? So think about that. Again, I recommend that for performance accountability issues, not necessarily conduct issues. So you've gone ahead and you've gone the informal route, you've gone the formal route, you've jacked it up to the point where you're having issues, you've tried a new recourse, remove the responsibilities from someone, and things just aren't working out. So where are you at? People are, I'm sure someone is screaming at their phone or the radio or stereo or whatever they're listening to computer, however they're listening to podcasts, like fire him, fire that person. Yes, at some point you will probably have to hold someone accountable to the point where they're relieved of their duties and let go. But you have to not necessarily look at it from the angle of firing someone is a poor performance, okay? Poor attitude, so on. It can be, however, the way you need to look at it is that removing someone from organizations because they have not conformed to the expectation of your organization. Okay? Let me say it again. When you remove someone and fire them, it's because they have not conformed to the expectations of your organization. All right? when you think of it in this way, it kind of puts people in a different light, and it actually enables them to go out and find new employment or be part of a different organization and still be productive to society. Okay? Because if you think of firing, usually it's negative on a person. Well, maybe not every time it's that person's fault, right? So whatever the expectations of your organization is because they couldn't conform to it. They couldn't change themselves to meet those expectations for whatever reason. Maybe it's not necessarily a bad thing that person couldn't conform, right? So just keep that in the back of your mind. Well, ladies and gentlemen, I hope you enjoyed today's podcast. All right, that is all about accountability. So let's wrap up. All right, if you make mistakes, it is always better to admit them, all right, than cover them up. Okay, let me go over that one more time. Always admit your mistakes, and then most importantly, learn from them so you don't do them again. I always say to my guys, I'm fine with you making mistakes, but as long as you learn from it and you never do it again, we're good to go. Once you start repeating mistakes, that's when you are having issues. When you're setting accountability within your organization, make sure you set your expectations so that people know what you demand from them. All right? And then progressively, as people don't meet your expectations, progressively increase the form of accountability, mainly from informal to formal, and then different levels of formal accountability. Now, this may not particularly be applicable to some people in smaller organizations out there, especially small home businesses, for example. But you never know if you decide to go down that route of having formal accountability within your business. Generally, you find that more so in larger corporations. Just a side note. Finally, have a look and see if you can do a new recourse for that person, i.e. put them in a different role, different department, change the scenery, less responsibility, so on and so forth. And then finally, understand that if you have to remove the person from the organization, it's not necessarily because they're a poor person, it is because they fail to conform to your organization's demands and expectations, okay? So, thanks for listening to the Moving Forward Leadership Podcast. Hope you enjoyed it. Just a few updates and things that are going on, because I am constantly trying to improve the podcast, the site, and so on and so forth. If you haven't done so yet, swing by the website, movingforwardleadership.com, and go to my best reads section, okay? Currently, there are 4 books in there which I would highly recommend to you to read if you haven't done so, all right? There are links there for you to pick them up on Amazon. Make it easy for yourself. There's 3 hard leadership books in there and one kind of mental book, not necessarily mental, but mentality book in there for you to read. Very interesting read, the Power of When, all right, so that you can basically perform at your peak. Next thing, if you have any questions at all, feel free to shoot me an email at scott@movingforwardleadership.com, or of course, go ahead, follow me on Twitter at MFL, that is Moving Forward Leadership _podcast, and feel free to shoot me a message that way if you get any questions at all. If you haven't noticed, there is a Facebook page for Moving Forward Leadership, okay? It's facebook.com/Moving Forward Leadership, and you can get all kinds of updates there. From anything from articles I read to what's going on. If I am podcasting or recording, such as I'm doing right now, I'll fire an update. Okay? And in that light, I've gone ahead and made a Facebook group. So if you want to talk leadership, all right, come to facebook.com/groups/Moving Forward Leadership, or you can get the link through the show notes at movingforwardleadership.com/podcast/accountability. All right, the link will be there in the show notes. Come talk all things leadership. Seriously, I am in that group. I go ahead and I will answer people's questions and so on and so forth. So it's a closed Facebook group. Swing by, request permission, enter. I will let you in, and then let's talk leadership. Okay? I don't believe there's really a leadership group out there for people right now, so take advantage of it. Next thing is, don't forget about my monthly newsletter, okay? and that's basically where I go ahead and submit, push out updates on the site, things that I'm doing personally, all kinds of articles which I found interesting throughout the month. It's only 1 month. You're not going to get bombarded with spam mail, go ahead and please buy this book or so on and so forth, alright? It is seriously just updates and what's going on. Finally, if you get any suggestions on topics you'd like to see or any suggestions for the site or various pages, feel free to shoot them. You can do it any way you follow me, basically, either through the website, through email, Twitter, Facebook, etc., etc., etc. And then finally, ladies and gentlemen, if you enjoy what you are listening to, and I think a number of you do because my stats have been steadily increasing as of late, please leave me a review on whatever platform you are actually listening to me via. These reviews mean more so to me than what you can ever imagine because they help me basically reach out to more people and help more people, which is why I'm here. I'm here to help people, and definitely love seeing the increased numbers. So, last but not least is, where can you listen? Alright, if you're not subscribed to me, please subscribe to me. You can subscribe to me via Shout Engine, which is my podcast hosting site, Google Play Music, iTunes, as well as Stitcher. Okay? That is all for today, ladies and gentlemen. I hope you've enjoyed the show. Hope you enjoyed the previous shows, and then I also hope that you'll enjoy the ones in the future. I'm going to sign off now. So take care, enjoy your day, and remember, keep pushing, keep achieving, keep moving forward.